Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. This video covers a new release, and it's something that I've wanted to develop for a little while now. The hills that I normally offer are sort of the very traditional hills, you know, the foam carved into a plateau on the top with, 45-degree sides. And, in the past I've done some tiered hills where I've put in a rock face on sections, but it never really looked quite natural. And so I wanted to develop something that was a little bit more detailed, but still retain that level of playability. So what I've done is created a pair of hills that feature quite a bit more detail in them, but also will be castable so that I can reproduce them a little bit more easily and offer them as an unpainted version as well. So what I'd like to do is give you a little look at those hills, talk a little bit about some of their design, and go from there. So here you can see the smaller of the two hills. This hill measures roughly, say, about 13 inches in length, ballpark, and roughly about 9 in width. So it's not a terribly small hill, but it is the smaller of the two. And what I've done is put in layered rocks to give some detail, but retain the playability of the top surface. So, pretending that this tile is a movement tray, you can see from the angle that it's sitting on that in a wide variety of places it's going to be relatively stable to place a movement tray on it, and of course plenty of these areas are stable for individual miniatures. So you can tell, looking at it in profile, right, that the rocks are kind of contoured to give a top surface that's relatively flat, but not truly flat. I wanted to add some variation to it and add some different rock faces to it to give it a much more natural appearance than the typical, sort of traditional hill that most gamers are using. These are cast in a little primer there. These are cast in a urethane shell backed by foam. Then I have to do a little sanding to bring it back flush. But this is actually, a very durable cast, and so I feel really good about it standing up to normal use. So that is the smaller of the two hills. And here is the larger version of this pair of hills, and this one comes in at about 15 inches or so and is roughly 11 inches across. So a little bit bigger than the other hill. And I again went in with rocks to try to give it some more detail, something that you can paint up if you want to do your own, but it gives me a chance to add some color to the hill and to make it a bit more natural feeling. Again, I've tried to preserve the playability of the top of the hill as much as possible. By adding in these rocks along the side to sort of extend out the top surface. And the nice thing about a piece like this is it really gives you some flexibility in how you declare what's playable and what's not. You could easily declare this as an impassable area, as these prominences are, have a very, sort of cliff-like face, but they're not so extreme that you're required to sort of envision it that way. And you could, place troops, ascending that, and if you have a magnetized movement tray, that's not going to be out of line of the playable, playable area. One thing that I did do with this hill, a little bit different, but just to give you a sense, this has a very large top surface that's relatively even, that you could move miniatures around on. But I did put in just a little bit of a divot. I don't want to call it a divot. Let's call it a valley. A little bit of a contour in this area. So that area allows, troops to approach the hill relatively stable. But it might pose, just a little bit of a... Well, actually, that's not bad, actually. I think that that's actually going to retain quite a bit of playability. But it gives it a nice, little bit more of a natural look to the overall hill. So really pleased with how these came out. And these will go up on the site in the hill section, and I will still retain the original style of hills as well, so people can sort of get a more budget-oriented hill, or can purchase one of these, and again, you know, cast and then backfilled with some foam to give it some strength, and you know, they're pretty durable, and I feel really good about how they came out. And just before I go, I wanted to give you a look at what one of the unfinished hills look like. So give a sense of what the raw, you know, resin and foam cast looks like. Give you a sense of that. So that would be an option as well. So that gives you an idea of what the new hills look like, as well as the uncast piece. I was very pleased with how they came out, and you know, seeing them in play at a recent gaming event I had held here at the house. They seem like they held up very well and really maintain the playability of hills as normally depicted. Oh, I forgot to mention that they average about 1.5 inches in height. I didn't want to go with a 1 inch, especially with some of the games that have true line of sight now, but I didn't want to go with 2 inches, as that creates more unplayable surface, as we have to, anybody has to, you know, create a larger taper to bring it up to that full height, and also shrinks some of the playability at the top. So I made a compromise and went with 1.5 inches, which should provide some line of sight blocking or cover saves for miniatures in and around it, at least foot troops. And so now those are some of the decisions that I put into it. So keep an eye on the channel. I have more new release videos to shoot. Quite a few, actually, so those will be coming out periodically over the next you know, week or so. If you have any questions or comments, of course, feel free to leave them down below. I always appreciate that, and I will be back very soon with another video.